accepting the award is just a small way of recognizing the immense contribution that you have to media education.
I appreciate the way you have done it. Thank you very much.
So, and we request you to give the... Yes.
No, okay. I'm very thankful to Global Media Education Conclave with this award. I never thought that after retirement I will get any award. So thank you very much. When Professor Ravindra Tiwari was speaking, he pronounced my name as Navjot, not Navjit. I have been facing this problem for the last 30 years or so. Navjot Sidhu has more media presence. He's much more popular than me because of different reasons. So definitely, so I was very happy. This has also happened to me once again. So media makes a lot of difference. So I would like to basically, I think, develop on my own career briefly. The way I saw media, the way I experienced media. I joined the department in 1983, and Punjab was suffering a lot of violence and murders and all sort of things were going on. And at that time, the focus was what role media could play in restoring the peace or making the life better for the people, or how media can fight against on its own the terrorism or the violence that was taking place in this world. But we found, as a teacher, and I found many journalists also very helpless, that we could not do much as far as this problem was concerned. So when we looked at the contents of the newspapers, especially after 1984, there was a lot of sensationalism, especially the media from Jalandhar, especially some newspapers. They published, all type of sensational stories, exaggerated stories. As a result, they gained circulation. A lot of print media became really, really powerful only in Punjab, only after 1984, and because that was the reason basically. But some of the newspapers who did not play do any sensational stories or kept their content very serious and all that, try to be impartial, did objective journalism, they suffered. So that was altogether a different experience during those years. And then came the 90s. 90s, we saw altogether a different phenomenon in Punjab. The terrorism came to an end during the early 90s, and then replaced by marriage palaces, Punjabi music industry, global channels, satellite channels, and all that, and everything changed, and media became basically commercial, totally commercial. When we look at in the 1980s and 90s, look at the relationship between society and media, I feel, and even now, generally we say that the media is very diverse. Society is also very diverse. Perhaps society is much more diverse than the media. Media has stopped becoming diverse, I think. If you pick up different newspapers, you would find very similar stories. If you watch different TV channels, you would find very similar stories. You would look at the serials, you would find because that is that if somebody has done this kind of story, the other channel would also like to do very similar story. If some channel has produced a particular type of serial, the other channel would also. I remember when I'm saying this, I'm remembering one of my teachers in Syracuse University, Professor George Comstock, in one of his class, he said the television, because television emerged in the 90s. The television is the only industry in the world, as compared to other industries, in which the competition leads to deterioration in the quality of the product. He said in all other industries, competition would lead to improvement in the quality of the product. I couldn't understand that. He said this in 1993. I have never seen commercial television. I went there, while watching Doordarshan. So while watching Doordarshan, I could not understand that. Then he has written this in his book also, Evolution of American television. And the basic reason uh, uh, was a commercialization of media. And in his book also, in the same book, somewhere he has written that he said about the history of American television. He said the golden decade of American television began in early 1950s and ended exactly a decade later. The that was the only golden period in the history of American television. That was the 1950s. The same thing I think happened to Indian television in 1980s. 80s I think was a golden decade for Indian television. Very good programs, Hum Log, Bunyad, Tamas, and many more were there. But later on, what happened, all of us know it. I would like to sum up this point by quoting Bhisham Sani. I got a chance to interact with Bhisham Sani, well-known author, brother of Raj Sani. I just asked him, it was in late 90s, he came to our university and I got a chance to sit with him and talk for an hour or so. I just asked him that Thomas was very famous. Okay, people watched Thomas like anything. It was such a well-made serial by Govt and Harani. He said, "Wouldn't you get a lot of offers after that?" Generally, you know, when you produce a good program, you write a good script, and you get a lot of offers. And he very sadly, I still remember the expressions on his face. Very sadly, he said, "No, no, offers came, but what I can write, they are not ready to make, and what they asking me to write, I cannot write that." So that's how drastically the things changed in the 1990s. And for media educators, it was all together to shift the gear again, you know, and think differently. And what happened in the last 20 years or so, I think you're all familiar with that. So the new media and all sort of things came, and now the online and all these things people are facing. So as far as Indian society is concerned, I think media is closely has a close association with the society, but at the same time, somehow it has lost that connect also. Uh, you know, once I would like to give one example, especially elite media, especially English media. Once a reader of an English daily came to our university. So one of the participants asked the editor, "Why don't you publish the news about the farmers who have committed suicide during the recent past?" He said, "No, they are not our readers." Without pausing, without giving a thought to it, instantly he said, "No, they are our not readers." So that's a big question. Should the newspapers publish only the story of those people who read them? Okay. Should television or rather apply the same thing to the TV people who watch television? You know, do television tell the stories of those people? Perhaps not. So there is a huge gap between the reality shown on our media, especially on our screen, and the reality that the people are facing. Okay, the same thing was said by Professor P. Sainas a long time back. He said, "Kid, dying farmers, they do not publish the news about because the dying farmers do not read newspapers." So that's I think a long time back, as far as TV is concerned, the committee not like another problem. This is basically related to the talent, the people who work in the media, and the big majority of them they come from the cities. They're urban people, and they might try to be unbiased towards the rural society, but definitely they cannot come out of that. And that's why the rural society, which is a large society, massive society, big society, and the society which is basically suffering, which is facing problems, is being ignored by the media by and large. And during if you even talk about the films, where do you find the stories of the common man now? Disappeared on television. There are the common man do not find any space on the television screen. It's not exactly the same as far as the newspaper is concerned, but newspapers are also getting affected by television. It's 10 years back, a student came to me. He was working. He started working for an English daily in Chandigarh. He said, sir, do you read my features? I said, I do read. I might have missed one or two, but generally I read. He said, how those are, how these are. I said, good. Generally you write well. You have a good command over language, and you write well. So thank you. Congratulations. He said, no, sir, I need some critical comments from you. I said, I have noticed that you write about the young and the rich. He said, sir, what to hide from you? He touched my feet, and he said, sir, I cannot hide, not try to hide anything from you. The fact is, we have got instructions from the management that we must write about the young and the rich, because the money, the basic thing is how to extract money from here and there, advertisers and other people, and from the mayor, the money will come from, not from the common people, not from the chubby choppy people, not from the poor farmer who are coming. The money would come from the advertiser. So advertiser has taken the center stage. Sometimes I feel that these the media run not for the people, but for the advertisers. Okay, so that's why, I mean, one time back, some foreigner came to our university. He watched that television for some time. He said, I said, sir, what do you think about our television? He said, on your television, advertisements are the best programs. They're very concise, precise, to the point, attractive, colorful, sensational, appealing, and all that. So the other stuff I do not find matching to that item. So that's those things of and I feel personally, when since commercialization will occur, automatically it will lead to sensationalism. Briefly, I would like to tell the story of an American journalist, John Krakauer, that happened long time back in 1996. Okay, he wanted to climb Mount Everest. He didn't have the money. Then he contacted a magazine, outside magazine, and that magazine arranged the money for him. He was given two guides, Rob Hill, I remember the name of one person, and he was supposed to cover that event live, going up to the mountain Everest, top to Mount Everest, and reporting it live for the magazine and for the some of the TV channels. What happened on the last day? There was a warning about a snowstorm, but the management of the channels or the magazine, as well as the guides, they insisted that we must go to the top of the Mount Everest. They went up to the top of the mountain, but when they were coming back, the snowstorm actually rolled in. Somehow, John Krakauer was able to come to his camp, but he became unconscious. But when he regained consciousness, he found 8 dead bodies in front of outside his camp office. And after that, he wrote a world famous book and bestseller, I think, in 1998, Into Thin Air. And he left journalism. He's saying, no, it has become insensitive profession. Okay, so these are some of the issues that I have felt during my career as well as now. And I think media should try to, some of the previous speakers, that try to touch upon the media literacy. That's very, very important. That I have realized by teaching in the university, going to the colleges, interacting with different people, that even the educated people, most educated people are not media educated. They're not. They're literate. They got very high degrees, but they're not media literate. So I think that's very, very important thing. And the other thing is, because my journalist friends are there on the panel, and how to, I would say, regain the lost credibility. That's another challenge for the Indian media today. Lost credibility. I'm sure you have lost not all the credibility, but some credibility. I would like to, my department was founded by Kuldeep Nair. So I would like to quote here one quotation of Kuldeep Nair. He said, credibility is like virginity. Either it exists or it does not. There is no in between. There's no in between. Okay, so we have to do something so that the Indian media again gain credibility and give some new shape or new form to Indian media. I know that we journalists have a lot of limitations. The managements have become more important. The general managers, the advertising managers, the circulation managers, they have become more important than editors. But whatever we can do within our limits, I think we must do about it. So thank you very much again for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.